So how does comfort ruin your life? Well, for me, it was when everything was going really well. I had a great routine. I was going to university twice a week. I was hanging out with friends, going to class. We were just chopping it up inside, having great chats and everything. I was getting top marks on every single test or essay we had. And then, on weekends, I was going out late at night to house parties, bars, fancy dress-up events, whatever it was. And then besides that, I even had a nice retail job, which I enjoyed, that was funding all of these activities as well. Life was cruisy. And then on Sunday, May 21st, 2023, I remember after one shift, my boss, he called me into his office, which was in this back room at the end of the whole building, or at the end of the shop, which was not unusual because, again, he was my boss, and he usually did that to a lot of us employees just to check where we were up to with our objectives that we had to get done and everything. But this turned out to be not just one of those regular meetings. He fired me. And then I remembered one of my friends also that I did used to hang out with a lot. He ghosted me. And 2 years later, I still haven't talked to him since. And I remember around that time period as well, I had some big exams going on for university, which I only ended up getting about 50% on as well. Well below my expectations and well below what I thought I could achieve. And so obviously, these things being in 2023, having the mentality of, this too shall pass, they all do. But to understand for me how everything came crashing down in the matter of 2, maybe 3 weeks, it required me to do a lot of self-analysis and reflection to really see how things ended up getting to that point. And for me, it was a pretty simple conclusion. I was living too much of a life of comfort. I was letting those nights, which ended up starting to end at 12 a.m., I let them get to 2 a.m. And then they went to 4 a.m. And the later I went to sleep meant the less time I had to study. And then the later I went to sleep, the quality of my sleep was worse as well, which led to my performance at work being worse. And anyone who knows anything about the job market nowadays knows how easily replaceable any employee is, pretty much. Even for minimum wage jobs out there, there is people lining up around the block to take your spot, And so quite quickly, with no job, no money to fund these fun nights that you have on a weekend, they very quickly become a thing of the past. And so what I learnt was living the comfortable life, the fun life, ends up destroying it. And what I really learned here was that a comfortable life can only ever be one that is short-lived. It is the challenging life which is sustainable. Now, you've probably heard of the notion of a comfort zone, where basically anything that you do pretty much regularly in life that's somewhat easy is comfortable to you, and anything outside of that is uncomfortable. However, did you know that your brain actually can't distinguish between these good and bad feelings at all? If it was, or if it could, then something like stubbing your toe against a wall would feel good because it's bad for you overall. And something like reading your favorite book series would be bad for you, even though you feel good while doing it. But clearly those aren't the case. So obviously, if your brain can't distinguish between good and bad, it only knows comfortable from discomfort, then you can really set the intention of starting to do things which feel uncomfortable for you right now, knowing that they're only going to be in that state of time for maybe a few days, a few weeks, only really the first few times once you do it. And then after that, you'll get progressively more and more comfortable. Say when you started going to the gym, probably you found it to be a bit of a scary place. You've got so many other people that have been working out for years, and you're just a beginner in there, you don't want to look like you're messing stuff up, or you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. As well as the fact that, you know, you wake up and you're sore the next day. It's still just a little bit laborious. You can't really see the gains you get immediately or anything. It's going to take months for you to see anything really even. But still, you know, you knew that even though it was an uncomfortable thing for you, it was ultimately something you knew you wanted to do. It's the same reason, basically, why people that have severe anxiety or depression, they really think that the best thing for them to do is to stay inside and isolate themselves. But again, paradoxically, all this does is shrink their comfort zone from whatever it was to even smaller and smaller and smaller. And so even something like going to the shops can create a lot of anxiety for them at that point in time, because they're just stuck to being at home. And so for me, to get out of this state of comfort, I did really set that intention, and I made sure that I became alright with being uncomfortable, because I knew it was only going to be temporary, and I'd get progressively more and more and more comfortable with these activities that I did continue to do. And so stuff like early bedtimes for me became the norm. Being in bed by 10 p.m. regularly, 10:30 maybe latest. Having a consistent routine throughout the day. You know, not having it be 2 days a week or 3 days a week where I wake up at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. You know, always waking up early, having a consistent day, knowing when I'm studying, knowing when I'm going to talk to friends at what point in time, hitting the gym consistently at about 2 p.m. every day, and getting a job which I actually really cared about. And for me, that wasn't a shift working job, you know, where I work 7-hour shifts. It was just one where I worked one hour at a time. And for me, that was tutoring. You know, with that, you can really see the tangible effect you have on the students you tutor. You know, you can see when they get a good mark, they're so happy for all the efforts you invest in them, as well as obviously the efforts they invest in themselves. And, you know, you feel like you're a real part of that. You know, together you're creating a team, and you're really helping them strive to be their best, which is a lot more fulfilling than something like just stocking shelves of food or something at a local store or something like that, you know, which, I mean, good, because I guess everyone gets food as well, but you don't really see the tangible effects of how much of, you know, a real impact it creates on everyone's life as you do when you're helping someone one-on-one consistently. For me, going from this life of more shallow, kind of ephemeral feelings to one where I was more fulfilled, it really made me just see that these lives of comfort are temporary. Because on the other side of it, and for most people, comfort is not going to do anything about helping you become better. And sooner rather than later, everything just will come crashing down, like it did for me. Or, you know, you finally end up realizing that you're capable of so much more, and you can strive to be such a better person as well. And so what I learnt most from this time, about getting fired, about achieving well below my means, and even losing a friendship, was that comfort breeds complacency, and the complacency ruins your life.